A heavy cloud has fallen over the palace as a powerful spiritualist from Osun State breaks his silence. He reveals that there is a spiritual debt tied to a mysterious tree called Idigbokanle, planted by the dreaded Bambo. While the youth are screaming for Ebony's immediate removal, this man of God is weeping, warning that if the great lion acts in haste, the entire kingdom will crumble under a curse that no one can pay off. Welcome to Crown Gist. If you haven't joined this royal family yet, hit that subscribe button right now to stay updated with the deepest secrets and latest updates. You don't want to be the last to know. A quick prayer for you. May every hidden trap set against your progress be exposed, and may you never walk into a debt you cannot pay. Amen. The atmosphere in the palace of the Great Lion has shifted from mere tension to a thick, suffocating dread. For weeks, the air has been heavy with the cries of the youth, their voices echoing through the corridors, demanding justice. They are tired, they are angry. The food incident was the final straw that broke the camel's back, and now they want Ebony gone. Not tomorrow, not next week, but now. They have surrounded the Great Lion, piling mountain-high pressure on him to wield his authority and end Ebony's stay in the palace once and for all. But just as the Great Lion was about to sign the decree, a voice emerged from the heart of Osun State, a voice that carries the weight of the ancestors. This spiritualist is not a man of many words. He doesn't chase cameras or look for fame, but he arrived at the palace gate with tears in his eyes, shouting a warning that has frozen the blood of everyone listening. "The debt is not paid," he cried. "The debt is not paid." My Crown Gist friends and families, this man isn't just talking about money. He is talking about a spiritual contract signed in the dark. He revealed that inside the very soil of the palace, a tree has been planted. This is no ordinary tree. It is the Idigbokanle, a spiritual landmark of chaos. He named the man behind it Bambo. Now, you need to understand who this Bambo is. He is the powerhouse, the spiritual backbone of the Ife elders and the Igbimo Abada group. He is the one who cooks the charms and weaves the spells that keep certain people in power. The spiritualist dropped a bombshell that shook the foundations of the building. He revealed that Bambo and Ebony share a bloodline. They are connected by more than just politics. They are connected by blood and dark covenants. This is why the Ife elders are fighting so hard to keep her there. They aren't just protecting a woman, they are protecting their source of power. The man turned to the youth, his voice trembling with emotion. He told them, "I understand your anger. I am not a fan of Ebony. If it were up to me, she would have been gone years ago. Do you know why? Because of what she did to my own stepsister. She has caused pain to my family too. I want her out more than anyone." But then he dropped the warning that changed everything. He told the Great Lion and the youth that if they forcibly uproot Ebony without first uprooting the Idigbokanle tree, they are inviting a wahala that will last for generations. He explained that this tree is a spiritual debt. Once it is planted in a palace, a school, or a compound, the inhabitants begin to pay. They pay with their peace, they pay with their health, and they pay with the very stability of their homes. It is a wicked cycle of spiritual taxation. He confessed to the crowd that even with all his power, he is not strong enough to uproot that tree. "He will not lie to you to please you," he said. "I cannot pull it out. Only Yanifa has the specific spiritual mandate to handle this particular growth. If you rush and kick Ebony out now, the roots of that tree will feel the vibration. They will spread, they will crack the walls of this palace, and they will scatter the throne of the Great Lion." The suspense in the room was so thick you could cut it with a knife. The youth, who were ready to break down doors, started looking at each other in fear. The Great Lion sat on his throne, his face a mask of deep worry. He had already made the decision to let her go, but now he is faced with a terrifying choice: proceed and risk a spiritual explosion, or wait and face the wrath of an impatient generation. The spiritualist asked a question that left everyone silent. Where were Ebony's people when this was being planted? Did they know? Did they stay silent while she traded the peace of the throne for her own protection? No one answered. The silence was the loudest sound in the palace. He insisted that there are 3 women who must leave for the palace to breed again, and Ebony is at the top of that list. But the timing is everything. To move too soon is to commit suicide. To move too late is to be consumed. My crown gist friends and families. The great lion is now standing between a rock and a hard place. He has the power to act, but does he have the spiritual cover to survive the aftermath? The spiritualist is begging for time. He is pleading for the return of Yanifa, the only one who knows the secret of the soil. But will the youth listen, or will their anger lead them into a trap that Baba Bambushe set years ago? The stakes are never been higher. The very soul of the kingdom is at risk. If that tree continues to grow, it won't just be Ebony's problem. It will be everyone's nightmare. The silence that followed the spiritualist warning was not a peaceful one. It was the kind of silence that happens right before a building collapses. Everyone was looking at the great lion. You could see the sweat on the brows of the palace guards. The youth, who were just minutes ago chanting and shouting, were now whispering in small groups. The fear of this spiritual depth began to sink in. The spiritualist continued his narration, and this time his voice was lower, more haunting. He began to describe the nature of the Idigbokanle tree. He said that in the spirit realm, this tree has eyes. It was planted by Baba Bambushe not just to stay in the ground, but to monitor the heartbeat of the palace. He explained that anytime a decision is made against the interest of the bloodline it protects, the tree releases a spiritual toxin into the atmosphere. This is why, despite all the prayers and efforts, the palace have been filled with constant wahala, backbiting, and confusion. You think you are fighting a woman, the man said, pointing toward the inner chambers where Ebony reside. But you are fighting a foundation. If you push a building down without checking what is holding it up, the building will fall on your own head. He revealed a secret that many had suspected but none dared to say aloud. He claimed that the Ife elders and the BIMBO ADEMOYE group have a spiritual map of the palace. They know exactly where the nerves of the kingdom are located. When Baba Bambushe planted that tree, he didn't do it alone. He did it with the silent consent of those who were supposed to be the gatekeepers. He looked at the great lion and asked a Kabesi, "Do you know that some of the people sitting close to you are the ones watering this tree at night?" The great lion shifted on his throne. You could see the pain in his eyes. He is a man who wants the best for his people, but he's realizing that he has been working on a landmine for years. The spiritualist explained that when he spoke to the great lion privately years ago, he warned him about the women he was bringing into the palace. He told him that some women don't come alone. They come with their families' altars, their villages' depths, and their own personal shadows. "I told you then," he cried out, "that these roots are thick. They are not the roots of a flower. They are the roots of a mountain." The tension moved from the courtyard into the very town itself. People started wondering if the great lion, with all his power and the title of Oba, is struggling with this. What hope is there for the common man? The spiritualist explained that the reason he is crying is on the throne. He is a son of the soil, a true descendant who cannot stand to see the glory of the kingdom dragged in the mud. He said his priority is not Ebony and it's not even the youth. It is the protection of the throne of his ancestors. Then he began to talk about the 3 women. He said for this palace to ever know peace again, a total spiritual cleansing must happen. Ebony is the leader of this trio, the one whose presence anchors the others. But he warned that if they only remove Ebony and leave the other 2, the vacuum left behind will be filled with even more darkness. It is like cutting the branches of a poisonous weed but leaving the root in the soil. It will only grow back stronger and more bitter. But the youth were still restless. One of the leaders of the youth stood up and asked, "Baba, we hear you, but how long must we wait for Yanifa? Every day Ebony stays here, we feel like we are being insulted. The food incident proved she has no respect for us. Are we supposed to just sit down and look while our kingdom is being traded for a debt we didn't sign for?" The spiritualist looked at the young man with pity. "My son, impatience is the brother of destruction. If you go to a hospital and the doctor says wait for the surgeon to arrive before you cut the body, and you decide to use a kitchen knife to do it yourself because you are angry, will the patient survive?"
He explained that Yanyefa carries a specific spiritual frequency. She's the only one who can talk to the ground of that palace and make it release the hold it has on the Idigbokanle tree. He said that when Yanyefa dies, she won't just use prayers. She knows the ancient secrets of how to pay the debt without losing lives. The story takes an even darker turn here. The man revealed that Baba Bambushi is already aware of this spiritualist's visit. He said that even as they speak, spiritual arrows are being fired. He told the people that if he doesn't survive the next few days, they should know it was because he chose to speak the truth. This caused a massive stir. Women in the crowd began to wail and the men tightened their grips on their walking sticks. My crown, just family and friends. Imagine the weight on the great lion's shoulders. On one side, he has his angry subjects who are ready to burn everything down to see Ebony leave. On the other side, he has a spiritualist telling him that his very life and the life of the kingdom depends on his patience. And in the middle of it all is Ebony, silent, watching, and perhaps waiting for the trap to spring. The man concluded this part of his warning by saying that the debt is not just about the past, it is about the future. If this debt is not settled, any child born in that palace, any project started by the Oba, and any peace treaty signed will eventually fail. The stakes are no longer just about who stays in the palace. It is about whether the palace itself would survive the next moon. The spiritualists here were not so Ebony. They were for the foundation of a kingdom that is shaking.
The palace ground felt like it was vibrating as the spiritualist continued his revelation. He looked directly at the Ife elders and asked them why they were so quiet. "Why are you not defending the throne?" he shouted. "Is it because you have already eaten from the hand of Baba Bambushe?" He began to explain the deep mystery of why the youth are so agitated. He said it's not just human anger, it's the land itself crying out. You see, the Idigbokanle tree doesn't just sit there. It feeds. It feeds on the joy of the people. This is why no matter what the great lion does to make things better, there is always a new problem, a new wahala, or a new scandal. The man revealed that Ebony's connection to this power is so deep that she doesn't even need to speak to cause trouble. Just her presence in the palace acts like an antenna for the dark forces of Baba Bambushe. He told a story of a secret meeting that happened years ago, before the great lion even sat on the throne. He said the debt was created when certain people wanted to ensure that no matter who becomes the Oba, they would always have a remote control over him. That remote control is the Idigbokanle tree, and the person holding the switch is the one connected to the bloodline of Baba Bambushe. The spiritualist turned to the great lion and said, "Kabiesi, you are a lion, but even a lion can be trapped by a spider's web if he doesn't see it in time." He explained that the youth's pressure on the great lion is actually a double-edged sword. If the great lion yields and kicks Ebony out without the proper spiritual clearance from Yanyefa, the debt will fall directly on the great lion's head. The debt must be paid, the man insisted. If the debtor leaves without paying, the guarantor is the one who suffers, and in this case, the guarantor is the throne itself. He described how Yanyefa has been preparing for this battle in the secret places. She isn't just traveling for fun, she is gathering the spiritual receipts to prove that the debt has been overpaid through the suffering of the people. He said Yanyefa is the only one who can stand before the altar of Baba Bambushe and say, "Enough is enough." But there is a catch. The spiritualists revealed that Ebony's people are not just sitting idle. They are planning a counter move. They want to trigger the youth into doing something violent. If the youth become violent, it gives Ebony the spiritual right to claim she is a victim, which would strengthen the power of the tree. It's a master plan of manipulation. The man's voice cracked with emotion as he pleaded with the youth one more time. "I know it hurts. I know your heart is burning, but do not let your anger become the fuel for your enemy's fire. Wait for the woman of peace. Wait for Yanyefa. Let her use the ancient keys to unlock this padlock. If you break the door with a hammer, you might bring the whole roof down." The people started to realize that this wasn't just about a woman leaving a house. This was a spiritual war for the heart of the kingdom. The spiritualist mentioned that there are 2 other women in the palace who are like branches of this same tree.
While everyone is focused on Ebony, these two are quietly doing their own work in the shadows. He warned that if Ebony goes, these two will try to take over her spiritual office to keep the dead alive. The palace needs a total evacuation of these three, he whispered, but it must be done with wisdom, not just power. The great lion has the power, but Yanifa has the wisdom. As he spoke, a heavy wind started blowing through the courtyard, extinguishing the torches. People began to scream, thinking the ancestors had arrived. The spiritualist stood his ground, his eyes glowing with a strange intensity. He told them that the wind was a sign that the spiritual death is being stirred. My crown-gist friends and families, can you imagine the fear? The great lion is trapped between his people's demand for action and a spiritualist's warning of doom. If he waits, the youth might riot. If he acts, the tree might strike. The man ended this part of his message with a chilling statement. Baba Bambushe is not sleeping. He is watching us right now through the leaves of that tree. He is laughing because he thinks we are too divided to win. But he forgets that when the truth comes out, the darkness must flee. The crowd was left in a state of shock. The youth leaders lowered their banners. The elders lowered their heads. The great lion gripped the arms of his throne so hard his knuckles turned white. The fate of the kingdom is hanging by a thread, and everyone is counting the days until Yanifa's return.
The spiritualist stood in the center of the courtyard, his face drenched in sweat, yet his voice remained steady like a rock. He looked at the great lion and made a final, chilling revelation. He said that the Idigbokanle tree doesn't just bring wahala to the palace, it also acts as a spiritual leech that sucks the glory of the kingdom to feed the bloodline of those who planted it. Every time there is a celebration here, the man cried, the tree turns it into mourning. Every time there is progress, it turns it into a setback. This is why the debt has grown so large. It is not just a debt of money, it is the debt of destiny. He warned that Ebony is the priestess of this tree within the palace walls. Even if she is not physically pouring water on it, her very presence and her actions serve as a sacrifice to keep the roots alive. He explained that the food incident that made the youth so angry was not an accident. It was a calculated move to create chaos, because chaos is the manure that makes the Idigbokanle tree grow faster. The great lion has made his decision, the spiritualist acknowledged, and that decision is right. Ebony must leave. But if she leaves with bitterness and the tree is still standing, she will leave a ghost that is more dangerous than her physical self. He begged the youth to understand that the great lion is not being weak by waiting. He is being a protector. He told them that Yanifa is already on her way and she is coming with the spiritual salt needed to neutralize the soil. Once the soil is neutralized, the roots of the tree will wither and Ebony's power over the palace will be broken forever. Only then can she be escorted out without any spiritual blowback. The spiritualist ended his message by calling for a season of silence and prayer. He told the Ife elders that their secret support for Baba Bambushe has been exposed in the spirit realm, and they must choose today who they serve, the throne of the great lion or the dark altars of the Igimo Abada group. As the man finished speaking and walked away, the palace fell into a deep, reflective quiet. The youth began to disperse, not with anger this time, but with a heavy sense of responsibility. They realized that the battle for their kingdom is much deeper than what they see on the surface. The great lion remained on his throne, deep in thought, knowing that the next few days will determine the future of his reign. My crown-gist friends and families, this is the situation on the ground. The death is real, the tree is rooted, and the tension is at an all-time high. Will the great lion have the patience to wait for Yanifa? Will the youth remain calm while the debt is being settled? Or will the power of Baba Bambushe find a way to strike before the cleansing begins? Before I go, I must remind you all that these are all alleged reports and rumors making the rounds on social media.
None of these claims have been officially verified by the palace or any legal authority. This is the gist as it is being told in the digital streets, so please do not take it as absolute facts. We are here to keep you updated on what everyone is talking about.